Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 58. Today, the main focus will be some extra road works. We will add a couple extra connections, so our vehicles can get around easier, and build an overpass on the road heading into Mutigrad, because I expect that area to be quite busy with trains. We will also continue working on our water and sewage system. Today, we will manage to place the water wells and the treatment plants on the sides of those mountains, where we placed the reservoirs earlier. Unfortunately, it appears that the water cleaning facilities lack the necessary factory connections that would have made cable cars possible to use, so we will end up using roads instead. It's unfortunate. When I was looking for possible solutions, I only checked if the cable car stations have factory connections, but not the treatment plants. Oh well, I guess trucks and buses will have to do. Let's start by adding a more direct connection between Mikhailovia and Babinsky. Right now, vehicles tend to go through Adumsky, since it's faster thanks to the paved roads. But if we upgrade this dirt path to asphalt, that should speed things up quite a bit. We have some leftover bumps from the time when we made this part of the city level for building out the district. Let's smooth them out, so the road is less of a roller coaster. I really wanted to add an overpass here, but our earth-moving vehicles were too busy building the city. Oh well, I expect only a couple buses to ever go through here, so a level crossing will have to do. I could have waited, but this wasn't a critically important addition to the road network. Unlike the overpass that we will definitely need to build later. Plus, if we need to, we can still retrofit this place in the future. Anyways, instead of building a boring straight line, we can make it a bit more interesting by adding some extra curvature. We might as well add the service roads, so the job gets done faster. And you know what? Lukovo is close enough, so we might as well use it for this project too. Now, this overpass we will absolutely cannot leave out. I expect both the road and the train traffic to be quite heavy in this area, so we better keep the two networks separate. The excavators are still busy in Mutigrad. To fix this, we should stop construction for a second. Okay, now that we reached the desired height, we can let everyone get back to work. We should still have some bulldozers ready to use. The construction sites seem to prefer using excavators before asking for bulldozers. And terrain leveling only uses bulldozers. Adding those guardrails seem to have paid off extra this time. The amount of terrain clipping is atrocious. They do interfere with the bridge pillars though, so let's get rid of them. Now even the bulldozers are busy. Let's just stop working on the city until we sort this place out. The overall slope is nice, but those dips on the edges are horrible. Let's make it a bit smoother. Much better. Not perfect, but better. The other side was more cooperative. Let's not forget about the service roads. And with that, work on Mutigrad can continue. Except the cross-country rail line. Let's focus on the city first. That's a long-term side project anyways. Here, I was trying to see if I can find some connections where I could add service roads, but no luck. The remaining streets will have to be built in order, unfortunately. Let's also fix the chemical branches signals. This purple block meant that the track layers cannot work on it in parallel. The fewer and smaller we make these places, the faster they get things done. Of course, we are still using double-sided signals. Once the whole place is ready to receive the regular train traffic, they will have to be converted to proper one-way signals. As usual, messing around with the terrain around infrastructure gave us some grass clipping through the tracks. Let's fix that. It seems I accidentally unpaused the airport. Let's keep it suspended for now. We have room for one more vehicle in the new helicopter COs. The only machinery missing are the pavement rollers. Let's order 3, one for each office. And we have the last of the new stone dumpers ready. Let's add it to its line. With these new additions, our gravel production should be about 50% higher than before. It's too late for this winter, but we might as well order the snowplows for the new road maintenance depot. It seems our stone dumpers are leaving the processing plant with some cargo left over on their backs. That won't do. We better tell them to wait for a full unload. Next up, let's fix the colors on the Bobinski construction vehicles. When I ordered them at the factory, I used the default colors, but they should be the usual blue we use in the other offices. Thankfully, it was just one click on the spray can icon, so it was easier than I expected. Even these Tatra 813s were done by a single click. Okay, that's the recoloring job done. Well, you know what's coming. Let's continue building out our water infrastructure. Unfortunately for Mutigrad, we need to do this while the game is paused, so constructions will not be progressing in the meantime. As I've said a couple times before, I will build the water wells on the top of these mountains, so the water will trickle down without the need for pumps. The water treatment plants will go in the middle, between the wells and the reservoirs. I will use the big plants. They will be the only manned buildings in this chain. 4 small wells should keep it almost at peak efficiency. And this is where I noticed that the treatment plants have no factory connections. So that's the whole cable car idea out the window. Such a shame, it would have made our lives so much easier. The big water cleaning facility has a max production of 300 cubic meters per day, and the small water wells can produce 70 per day. Pretty convenient. So 4 small water wells will only be 20 cubic meters of water less than the maximum productivity. And we don't need to use workers in the small ones, so that's extra convenient. Now we only need to bring the road connection down from this mountain to the city. Whenever you reach a turning point on your serpentine road, just use the leveling tool a little bit on the area, and once it had enough room for a wide enough curve, you'll be able to continue building. Just keep looking for the yellow ghost image, and capitalize on it when you can. We just barely managed to miss these water tanks. Adding 2 more turns should be enough to bring us down to where we need to be. This last one doesn't even need leveling. There. A nice little mountain serpentine road. I don't really know why I wanted to add these footpaths. The reservoirs are already built. Adding them for the water wells might make more sense. They are so tightly packed together that the helicopters might have problems reaching some of them. But I guess we will need to deal with that in the future. Let's move on to the Valentinsk setup. Having these high voltage power poles all over the mountain made this one a tiny bit trickier, but not by much. The only thing they will interfere with will be the roads, and we will manage to deal with those relatively easily. Having the game pause for so long really took a bite out of the time we could have spent building Mutigrad. I was hoping we could finish at least one building today. But both the pausing, and the fact that it is winter will end up delaying that until later. Oh yeah. And the fact that the game is paused also means that we are not using fuel in the bulldozers while leveling the terrain. I don't like doing that, since it feels like an exploit to me. But I hate losing citizens much more. And unpausing the game with the water system enabled would result in a massive exodus of disgruntled citizens. Anyways, I will use that small space between our first housing complex and the secret police HQ as the connection point for this serpentine road. This time, the slope isn't as severe as it was on that other mountain, which will help us get around these power poles. There. Fewer turns than the other one, but still a decent looking result. And since we have the water system enabled, I wanted to see if we can squeeze in the sewage dumping area too. This place near the Mikhailovia heating plant looked quite promising. Far enough from both town to negate the pollution issues, but close enough that piping the waste here isn't too much of a problem. I didn't expect the water level to be so deep though. The fact that we needed to dig so deep down will make me reconsider out plans of adding the sewage outlets today. I am only willing to take advantage of the fuel pausing exploit for so long before I decide to leave them for later. Well, if we cannot place the outlets, we can at least add the cleaning plant. We will of course use the biggest available. I am hoping this will be enough to clean the water for both cities. The only reason why I was willing to put it so close to Mikhailovia is because the building info did not list any pollution statistics. So hopefully it won't cause any health issues in the city. Anyways, time to turn off the water system, and let these things get built. With fuel consumption back on, I decided to keep working on this sewage dumping ground a little more. Hopefully, we will have the outlets here, along this coastline. The wastewater will have to go through the cleaning facility first, of course. It's still a bit too close to Michaelovia, so I'd like to avoid adding too much pollution. Well, it is still very much a work in progress. I fully expect us to work on this a lot more in the future. Let's pause the chemical facilities too. I thought I had them suspended already, but the helicopters were buzzing around the place. Yeah, winter really does slow things down. And yet, I keep postponing the new road cleaning facilities. It's a vicious circle. The problem appears during winter, when it's already too late to do anything about it. And when spring comes, I'm just happy to be done with it, and forget about the whole thing until the next snowfall. Maybe I should add it to my to-do list. Anyways, since we are in a road building mood, let's add in the permanent connection between Babinski and the chemical district. The same as usual. I try to keep the general direction in mind, but still add a few wide turns into the road, so it's not just a boring straight line. Now let's just add the dirt roads for the farm fields back in, and let it build. Oh yeah. Might as well add the service connection, so more than one segment can be worked on at any given time. Also, let's check how the track layers are doing. They already reached the town station and they even started working on that junction setup. Not bad. We should still keep adding new jobs as we can find them. This place is too far away for automatic assignments. I can't wait for that asphalt road to be finished. It will speed things up, and not just during winter. And I just check on Autozov in time for the last tanker truck to be finished. This completes our refueling setup in Babinski. Let's turn our attention to the heating for Mutigrad. As usual, I want the plant to be as far away from the city as possible, while still close enough that we don't lose too much heat energy during transfer. The same as with Michaelovia, we will have an external coal storage. But unlike the last one, We will now use trains to bring in the fuel. We only ever used trucks for that job before. Fortunately for us, we have a very convenient rail line running right next to this setup. This is still the two-way part of the rail network, so we can simply connect to it with a Y junction. I expect to use the Ramosov coal storage for pickups, so we don't really need to add a way towards Mutigrad. And should we ever need to, we just add a turnaround in front of the junction, like at Electrograd. So, with that all laid out, let's see where the heat pump should go. As usual, it should be about 1,000 meters away from the heating plant, which is just at the town border for us. It's almost like we measured things out beforehand. Once more, it seems the heat pipes have a hard time going under rail tracks, so we temporarily need to lower them a bit more. I think I made a mistake when placing the road signs for this bus station in Valentinsk. They should give priority to the station, and since the most heavily used destination is in Kirkomov, I will give the second priority to that road. We have all 6 bulldozers ready to be reassigned to the helicopter COs. Unfortunately, the more efficient model is too heavy for the helicopters, so these old versions will have to suffice. Although it's winter, and they are quite slow, I'll just let them move over with their own power. We already have enough bulldozers ready to go, so we are not in a hurry to have more. Although, looking at all the roads and footpaths lined with piles of gravel waiting to be spread out, having extra machinery will definitely help. At this point, I think the dirt road connections outlive their usefulness. Let's get rid of them. There is one at the rail CO that might still be useful, so I leave that be for now. And that road we placed at the start of the episode is already finished, despite the winter slowdown. Let's take out its service road as well. Since I was checking that this branch had electrification, that I decided to check in the surrounding area as well. Right now, only the Mutigrad tracks aren't electrified yet. Just as it should be. Again, we are in such a road building mood, let's upgrade them around Penkovsk to asphalt too. We have one paved road going to the chemical factories from here, so our aluminium district is basically just a section of gravel we really shouldn't have in the network. I'll keep the paths going to the bauxite mines gravel, they only need to accommodate the occasional fuel deliveries anyway. And since these rail tracks are ready for all intents and purposes, we might as well give them the proper signals. We had a heat exchanger fire in the dead of winter. Not exactly ideal. Thankfully, the other stations managed to keep the city warm and cozy, so we were just fine. Let's not forget to add the Q signals along the branch. Anyways, this construction crossing is no longer necessary. With it gone, we can move the signals closer to the junction. All these road upgrades resulted in this truck being separated from the network. Let's take pity, and send it home. To make sure no other vehicles fall into the same fate, I zoomed out to scan for question mark icons, but couldn't see any. With the Mutigrad roundabout finished, we can add a temporary footpath for the centerpiece. Helicopters are unable to reach it, so road vehicles will have to deal with it. Ramasov has run out of gravel. It's unfortunate. Not really surprising though. All that construction work around Mutigrad is consuming all our current production. No worries though. We already have a shipment incoming. Well, since we already placed the beginnings of the heating infrastructure for Mutigrad, we might as well do the same for the power. For now, we will only build the transformer. Speaking of power, let's see how our network is doing these days. It's been quite some time since the last I checked on things. For the most part, things are okay. I suspect it's mostly down to the fact that we haven't been using the stuff we've been building lately. Once we start using Alexandergrad, Penkovsk, and the new chemical factories, I bet we will see a marked increase in the demand for electricity. Anyways, let's keep checking on the rail construction, and keep adding assignments, since we are too far away for it to do it by itself. I think it's time we reprioritize some of the constructions around Mutigrad. To start seeing some results, we should allow Bobinski to start choosing construction projects on its own. It is close enough for automatic assignments, so it will take care of that on its own. But Adamski is too far away, so instead of babysitting it, I think I will just let it work on everything all at once. Hopefully, that should allow us to start seeing some of the buildings finish up in the next episode. And if we are lucky, we might be able to see some citizens running around the place in an episode or so. For the first year or two, I suspect we will only see people work in the city only, since they tend to satisfy their employment needs locally, before they move on to seeking jobs at the train station. Once we reach that point, however, that will mean the grand opening of our last few industrial districts. But while all that is going on, maybe we should start focusing on the water update a little more. We still need to work out how to handle the industrial districts. Some of them will be easier than others. Kirkomov, for example, is right next door to the Valentinsk water facilities, but places like Finalizing will require some thinking. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, you can support me on Ko-fi, for which you can find a link in the description. If you are not the donating type, that is fine too. You can still support me by leaving a like, or subscribing to the channel, which just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.